Okay, I guess that we are on. Okay, hello everyone. So just a second. Okay, so welcome to our webinar from HURMA system about recruitment in Latin America. My name is Ina. I work in Proxet as HR director, and we are friends with guys from HURMA system. That's why we decided to discuss with you this hot topic as recruitment in Latin America, because we know and we have something to share with you. And we invited our colleague from the Peru to describe you this topic. So about the HURMA system, about organizers. So please wait till the end of this webinar, because at the end you will receive additional information about the product and how this product can help you to hire in Latin America. And also, I guess you know, but still this webinar is a charity webinar, and you can make donations. You can make it with the QR code that you can see on the screen. And also you can follow the link that you can see under the video on the YouTube, and you can make the donations. Any sum will be valuable, so please join this activity, because all money that we collect will be transferred to for buying technique for internal forces of Ukraine. So I'm glad to introduce you my colleague, Madeleine from Peru. Madeleine has really great experience in HR and recruitment, and we are working for 1 year together right now. We have been working for 1 year in Proxet together, and I guess Madeleine will share and will tell you about her experience, and maybe will ask some questions. I will help Madeleine, and I will read questions that you will leave under this video, so we can have interaction and keep it. So Madeleine, welcome.
Hi, Ina. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. First of all, I want to start by saying good afternoon, Europe. Good morning, US attendees, and good morning, attendees from Latin America. A big thanks to each and every one of you for joining us today. It is not just a pleasure, but it is an honor to be able to contribute to such a noble cause and help our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. So any contribution that we make, big or small, will change lives. So let's keep those donations going. Just like Ina mentioned, we have the QR code in the beginning of our presentation and also at the end. So let's make that effort. Let's keep these donations going. But anyway, without further ado, I don't want to take more of your wonderful time. We will continue with this presentation. So again, I am Madeleine Barthelmess, and I am talking to you from Lima, Peru, in South America. All right. Now, before we begin this presentation, I have a question for you. Let's get into the environment. Let's go back 2 years in time. Let's go to the end of 2019. End of 2019, beginning of 2020. What big event changed the world as we know it? I'd love to hear your answers. What was the biggest event, a world-changing event for all of us towards the end of 2019 and 2020? Anyone? I'm sure you know it because we're all experiencing it even today. So, all right, let's look at.
We have answers. We have answers that it's like COVID that changed our life. Yeah.
Yes, it indeed it did. So March of 2020 was a life changer for all of us. So let's go back to the news. The World Health Organization declares a global pandemic. We are locked down. We are told we cannot leave our homes and we can't go anywhere. We have to be very careful about what we do. Okay, this was fundamentally one of the biggest changes for operations worldwide. So it was a big headache. We hit a hard wall. HR specialists, CEOs, COOs, everyone hit a hard wall. We did not know, what are we going to do now? How do we continue? How do we keep our businesses running? So essentially, each and every one of us became experts on distributed teams. And this we had to do to survive. So let's look at the early stages of working from home. Can you guys relate? Let's look at some of the situations that we had to undergo in the very beginning. All right, so how can you relate? We had to learn to work with our younger colleagues, right? We had to learn to work with our four-legged friends, interrupting our calls, learned to manage our time, be able to handle work, our responsibilities with our jobs, and responsibilities at home, mixing everything, right? Being able to manage and put it into the balance, everything at the same time. This was proven to be difficult, but we are humans. And the good thing about humanity is that we easily adapt. So from this, we jumped into this, right? We learned to organize our time. We worked based on objectives, on company goals, and we definitely increased productivity. Productivity increased immensely, and stakeholders, organizations, owners realized that working remotely was going to be something big. So this was a big change in our society, a big change in our life as we know it. But with huge changes come problems, come positive things and negative things, right? But to us in the recruitment world, it was proven to be madness and craziness. So what happened? All right. The world moved online. So now the massive shift of everyone moving online, right, to digital platforms was a big headache. Now, companies did not have this as an option anymore. Companies had this as a necessity. And this being a necessity, moving everything into digital presence, well, we needed to increase what came behind it. So we needed to increase the supply of software engineers. And this was proven to be very, very difficult worldwide. That's what we in recruitment suffer with every day, right? We have to make sure that we cover our specific clients' needs and supply them with great engineers, great developers. But surprise, surprise, it's not that easy. All right, so I'm going to share with you some details only about the US, just to give you an idea. All right, so right now, the US produces 65,000 computer software degree graduates on average per year, okay? Can vary, but this is on average, just in the US, and I'm talking about certified software developers. Okay, so the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics says that within the next 10 years, the next decade per year, we will have about 189,000 openings, job openings for the next 10 years. And this is just in the US, okay? So imagine that. There is a clear deficit between the number of skilled software engineers coming out of colleges and the number of job openings. Only in the US, but this is just a number in the US. So let's think about the global picture. Now, we have to solve this. We have to find solutions. Companies have to find solutions to this situation. So we have big corporations, enterprises that have started building teams remotely. Here you can see some flags with some countries worldwide, right? The first one being the US, we have Canada, the Netherlands, Spain, Germany. But this is just to show you some of the countries that are globally hiring right now. In reality, we are hiring from all parts of the world. The shortage of engineers it's really, really a hot topic right now. So we're learning to build teams, remote teams, globally, worldwide. And this is where Latin America comes to the rescue, Latin power, right? So I want to first give you a little bit of a feel of what Latin America is. So I want you to listen to this. All right, so Latin America is composed of 33 countries. Now, in these 33 countries, let me lower the volume a little. I know the music is wonderful, but in these 33 countries, the main language that is used is Spanish, following Portuguese. They are edged by a couple of million speakers, right? Here you can see a varied number of countries that are from LATAM. Puerto Rico is also considered Latin America, but it belongs to the US. A fun detail about Latin America is that it is the most urbanized continent in the world. So I can tell you that 80% of its citizens live in the cities across all Latin America. So that's something nice to know, all right? And Latin America was colonized, generally speaking, was colonized by Spain, France, and Portugal. So we have hold on one second, we have a big influence of European culture within LATAM. Some of the countries that I'd like to mention in Latin America, just to review, are Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Peru. I'm sure you've heard of Uruguay and Mexico. These are really popular countries that we hear about. We have a lot of popular tourist attractions. So whenever I mention these countries, I know that recruiters automatically can associate to the different tourist attractions or touristic places that they have visited. All right, so let's move on here. All right, so talking about recruitment in Latin America, why is it viable to recruit from Latin America? So here we have a few pointers. So the first one is Latin America is cost effective. If we're going to hire independent service contractors, we're going to hire business to business, obviously, we won't have the headache of paying healthcare, holidays, retirement plans, administration of office spaces. Definitely now, I'm going to make a little pause there, but definitely now to make our job offers more interesting and appealing to LATAM, we are offering certain perks that can be considered benefits, but in reality, the costs of what we are saving are grand. What else? Another reason to hire from Latin America is the time zone. So we are basically paired up with North America. We have from 0 to 2 hour difference. We can pair up with the Eastern time zone and with PST. There is really no difference. And employees working from LATAM have no problem maybe with the 2 hour overlap. What else can I tell you? English fluency. So the majority of universities in Latin America, for graduation, there is a requirement. And the requirement is that they reach a B2 level of English, according to the Common European Framework. So this is an upper intermediate level of English. This means that you will have fluent developers that you can hire. So they will have the ability to communicate appropriately in English and write and speak. And also something that is really important is broadband access. So just mentioning a specific detail, as of 2019, Latin America and the Caribbean was the 4th largest region online market in terms of users. So we were behind Asia and Africa. Almost everyone has access to the internet in Latin America. Any questions? No? All right. So also one more point I want to mention is that Latin America and North America, culturally speaking, are very similar. So we can relate a little better to North America. So here's the good stuff, right? Here we have some ranges in terms of hourly. Now, I don't want you to look at these numbers and spook out. So these are general numbers, general ranges, but then again, they also vary by country. We have to be, here you'll see a general idea, but also you have to think about each and every country's reality. Let's do just a couple of comparisons so you see why it is cost efficient to hire from Latin America. So just to start off with an architect level role in the US, in North America, and in Canada, we can see an architect level developer starting off at $110 per hour. Now, if we go to LATAM, we go to Latin America, we can find architect level starting, on $45 per hour and moving on up to $75. This can vary a little, give or take. But generally speaking, depending on the country of Latin America, you will see a little difference. We can also look, for example, at a junior QA manual engineer. The starting point in the US is $52. It ranges from $52 to $70 per hour. Compared to if you look at Latin America, you'll look at a range between 33, in reality, could be $30, even $30 to $45 per hour. So you can look at this comparative chart and see how, you know, beneficial it is to hire from Latin America.
Okay,
but hiring from Latin America.
We have a question about
Sure.
these numbers. So what is the source of those salaries?
The source for the salaries. Actually, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to share with you all the sources of all this data that we've found. But basically, you can take this data out of all the consultancy services that are providing engineers right now to North America and Europe. Now, again, we're being very general about this because you have to consider countries. You have to consider, again, the reality of each and every country. In LATAM, we have quantitative and we have qualitative opportunities of hiring. What do I mean by quantitative? The quantitative side is going to refer to numbers. We're going to find a high volume of engineers available that are skilled in particular technical stacks, particular subject matters. They are certified, they, you know, right out of academies, right out of universities. The price points are going to really depend also on the level of English that they have. So in terms of quantity, you will find a lot of options. And also in terms of quality. In terms of quality, we're going to find developers that are already working in lead positions, architect positions, and senior roles. And not only that, but they already have experience working in remote teams with US and varied cultures. So you will find it all in LATAM, but it's a matter of really doing a good process, a good recruitment process. So talking about what countries in Latin America have the most numbers of highly qualified developers. You know, this can be very biased because from research and from data and analysis, I can point out to you 7 countries that are picked out from the 33 LATAM countries that are good for, you know, for sourcing and bringing into your teams. But again, we cannot limit ourselves. The options are out there. So what countries right now are hot in terms of recruitment? We can mention, for example, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Peru, my home country, and Uruguay. In these countries, you will find a lot of global enterprises that have established legal entities also. So you will find great engineers here. Let's go into Brazil. So Brazil is known for producing these great unicorns that have reached the $1 billion value. We can talk about Hotmart, iFood, Quinto Andar, Wildlife Studios. You will find great engineers throughout Brazil. And let me tell you exactly what are some of the stacks that we can find in Brazil. We can focus on sourcing in Brazil. For example, for Python engineers, we can find great Django, Java, Spring, Ruby, JavaScript, Node.js, PHP, Laravel's. So they're pretty strong on these technologies. Mexico. So Mexico is bordering with North America, but what can we find in Mexico? Definitely in Mexico, we can find great Java engineers, .NET, .core, C#, JavaScript, React Natives, Pythons, and PHP engineers. Argentina. So in Argentina, you will find a strong community of Angular engineers, also PHP and .NET. Some big companies that are working from Argentina right now are Globant, Mercado Libre, and Despegar. Besides OLX and also Uala. Colombia. Colombia is a great country where people are very service-oriented. In Colombia, you will find great TypeScript engineers, Pythons, SQLs, and believe it or not, Rubies. So yes, we can source for Rubies also in Colombia. Chile, all right, so Chile. In Chile, we can find a great community of Python engineers, PHPs, Javas, iOS, and Android developers. Peru. Peru, again, my hometown. In Peru, we will find great Android and iOS developers. We will find PHP engineers, but you know what? We also have a hidden treasure here. We have the oldies also. We can find the Perl developers in Peru. So if you're looking for Perl developers, we have a nice community here as well. All right, so I've given you the general ideas, the general basics to think about recruiting in Latin America. But it's not just recruiting in Latin America. It's not just taking that jump. It's not waking up one morning and saying, okay, my organization is, in deficit, is in need of engineers, and I'm going to start sourcing in Latin America. It's not an easy task. So we really have to think about, is our organization ready? And what are we willing to give up? So this is where we're going to really reflect. We're going to take a pause and analyze. All right, so are you ready? There will be some tough calls, okay? All right, so you have to think about it this way. You will find less experience. Although we tend to see great experience on paper, on resumes, definitely compared to Europe and US, we will find less experience in development. We will find less seniority. And what do I mean by less seniority? We will find people, and I know recruiters already working with recruitment in Latin America will agree with me on this, is when we review a profile, when we review a resume, we see that the time frames for this person working at specific companies, is typically less than a year. So if we compare to Europe and North America, we see that we have prolonged times. We have tenures that run from a year and a half to longer periods. But in LATAM, it's different. In LATAM, due to economical instability within governments, companies prefer to hire or contract their employees through third parties. By this, I mean consultancies. And not only that, but they avoid paying taxes, they avoid paying healthcare, they avoid having this employee become a permanent part of their staff. So they have their employees sign contracts every 30 days. So what does this mean? This means that, in 4 months, they worked on a project, this project was delivered, there is no necessity for any, adaptations, customization, everything was delivered, the client is fulfilled. So these companies say, okay, Roberto, thank you very much. We enjoyed working with you. You did great. Don't call us, we'll call you when we have another project coming soon. So contracts end. So you will see a lot of this in resumes. You will see 6-7 month periods. You will see freelancers in their job descriptions. But again, this means that they've worked for consultancy companies. And, when you do your interviews, you have to make sure to ask these questions. So I see that you've worked in this company for 5 months, in this company for 3 months, and here for 7 months. Do you work under a specific third party? Do you work for a consultancy service? Can you tell me the name of this place? And you will more or less understand why you see these short periods on resumes. Another tough call will be possible communication problems. Communication varies within country. Culturally, we are all different. Yes, we do have the same language, and yes, we have a lot of similarities, but also we are different in communication, in behavior. So that's going to be a tough call to consider. High turnover. If your employee, if your Latin America employee does not feel a connection to the company, a connection to you, they will not think about it twice. They will leave. This is something to consider. So you will have high turnover unless you have an excellent employee branding, operations manager, or a process running within the company. Another tough call, I don't want to call it problem, but another tough call will be in your home base. You will have employees that become resentful. And this happens everywhere. Well, why? There will be a fear of job loss or job security. So definitely, these are some things that you have to consider. And what is the company investment here? Well, you have to think about micromanagement. Yes, in Europe, in North America, we have more freedom about what we do. We work on objectives, we work on goals, we are skilled, we're professional, and we know it. Yes, and that's understandable. But again, going back to Latin America has a lot of bureaucracy. We are used to being told what to do verbally, on paper, in meetings, and anytime you have a chance to repeat it to me. So this is something that you're going to have to think about. A possible third shift. So if we are hiring globally, we're hiring, and we're located in Poland, we're located in Ukraine, we're located, in Spain, we're going to have to consider adding a third shift. Employees or upper management being able to work at the times that you have your LATAM employees working. What else? Well, you're going to have to think about your administration governance. And by this, I mean your policies, your handbooks. You're going to have to implement, and you're going to have to structure and organize. And now you're going to have to think about, you know, the variance in the cultures, and what is acceptable to you might not be acceptable to Latam or vice versa. So we're going to have to invest, you know, in a good policy implementation. Also, international travel. So now you have 15, 20, 30 people working from Colombia, 20 people working from Brazil, I don't know, 15 people working from Chile. Okay, so you're going to have to brand your employees. We want to see you. We want to know who you are. We want to make sure we sit with you and have an exchange of words and talk about our progress, talk about the process, and what your expectations of us are. So, you know, these are things that you have to consider. You know, we can't just jump into something and wear a blindfold and say it's going to work. Yes, it will work, but it takes time. It takes preparation. So the intention for us here is to become a global company. So we have to learn to integrate cultures, and we have to consider working with LATAM as a we, right? We, the employees located in Ukraine, in Armenia, in Poland, in Turkey, and the employees in Brazil, in Chile, in Colombia, we, never an us versus them. So we have to consider that if we're jumping into this, we're going to have to brand our community. We're a whole. How do we do this, right? This, you know, all the other information I processed and I gave to you earlier in the presentation is very, very simple. It's just details, you know, oh, wow, the salaries are good. And yes, I can find great people in Mexico, Colombia, Argentina. Yes, you will find them. But how do you retain them? How do you keep them? All right, so we have to really consider that to have a successful hiring process and a successful, I would say, retention of employees, you have to really, really organize your process and prepare your organization, prepare yourself. You want to be successful here? You will be, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take obstacles that you're going to jump. You're going to fall, or you might jump over them in the beginning, but then they're going to start coming and piling, and you have to learn to, you know, look beyond. So these obstacles are going to come in, you know, probably in the after the honeymoon stage, after the first 2-3 months. But anyway, let's look at this pyramid. Let's look at how we should organize and prepare. So first thing to remember, you know, at the peak of the pyramid, we have intercultural competencies. All right, so how do we build competencies within our employees? Well, you're going to have to invest in training. You're going to have to invest in workshops. And this is going to be obviously promoted by management, human resources, but we have to take that time. Our project managers, our delivery managers, they are used to working with specific culture, with cultures close to home. And it is shocking at times when we have to deal with certain behaviors or responses from other communities, right? When we are given instructions or when we are told what to do, there is a how, there is a way for each and every culture. So we definitely have to participate and gain these intercultural competencies. Not only that, but we have to build awareness in the company. We have to let everyone know, hey, we are now expanding. We are hiring from Latin America. We will be hiring within the next months from Chile, from Mexico, from Peru. So how do we build awareness? Well, we're going to have to start. We're going to have to take baby steps. Let's start adding specific holidays in our company calendars. All right. Okay, we're hiring from Mexico. Let's add Cinco de Mayo. We're hiring from Peru. Let's add Independence Day. Let's add the 28th of July. Right. We're going to start considering. I don't know. I can give you some ideas here. Visiting international restaurants, watching films, but build awareness. Then we have to self-position, and this means that we have to learn about the country specifics in terms of communication, values, working styles, norms of behavior. So how do we talk to a person from, I don't know, Brazil versus how do we communicate to someone from Peru? There will be differences. We have to learn about the norms of behavior. Every country is different. In Latam, we are a highly emotional community, highly communicative community, but you will find due to colonization and a lot of European influence, you will find different patterns of behavior throughout the different countries. Finally, we have to define a common framework. So by this, I mean, now that we already, we've positioned ourselves, we are aware of culture, of their culture. We've been to these training sessions. Okay, all right, okay. Now we need team building, because now everyone's already in this pot of soup, right? We have all these ingredients, and we have to put the ingredients together and make a wonderful soup full of flavors that everyone is going to like. So by this I mean now we have to consider building our teams and giving each and every person a sense of belonging. All right, and creating stories and starting fresh. So what do you have to remember here? So initially, we have to have knowledge of the target culture. We have to have openness, and we have to be ready to interact and to learn. You want this to work, you need to learn. You want this to be successful, you have to have empathy, and you have to have tolerance. Tolerance, a lot of tolerance. All right, what else? Flexibility. You have to be flexible. You understand you're hiring, across the ocean. You have to understand that times are going to be different. Employees will need questions answered. So you're going to have to be flexible in different aspects. Does your organization have these people, have these employees ready to, learn the culture, to interact with new cultures? Are they tolerant? Do they have empathy? Will they be flexible? If you ask them to, possibly change their working shift, will they be able to do this? All right, so we're going to have to learn to evaluate situations with neutrality and also reflect on our own actions and, be very critical about how we respond or what we do. All right, quickly and very briefly, I want to give you a feel of these countries and what their cultures are like. So I just want you to jump in, let's do a quick travel to these countries and hear a little bit about them. All right, so can you tell me what country this is? So, yes, this is Brazil. Excellent, excellent country. Happy people. You will find them to be very emotional, very service-oriented, ready to start, very dynamic. Capital of Brazil, Brasilia. Let's move on. All right, so let's look at the flag. I'm sure you know what country this is. All right, and let's get into the environment. Let's dip in a little. All right, this makes me want to jump in and recruit right away. Yes, it puts me in a good mood. I think I can just listen to this jarabe tapatio and listen to it over and over and start my day in a happy way. All right, so let's move on. Can you tell me what country this is? And this country is highly influenced by Europe. So let's get a feel of who they are. Strong culture. Yes, just by the music. All right, where does this put you? All right, try to understand the culture a little. Yes, strong-minded people, service-oriented, but be prepared. Be prepared because they will tell you. They will tell you what they think. All right, let's move on. This is one of my favorite places to recruit from. So let's jump right in. Let's jump right into the culture. Let's see what you're going to encounter here. This takes me to a happy place. So again, here in Colombia, you will find highly dynamic, service-oriented, very people that are very oriented to making you feel that they are doing a great job. So, you know, just by listening to these songs, to these melodies, you kind of get the idea of what the LATAM culture is like. Let's jump into what you see here. What country is this? Yeah, this is Chile. So let's just jump in.
I want to say, that we have questions in chat. Yes,
sure.
Yeah, and the time is limited here, and also I was worried to reply to people who put the questions. Okay, we will come to it just in 1 minute, and I will tell you the questions from the chat.
All right, good. Okay, so let's move on. All right. So we have Chile, capital of Chile, Santiago. Very nice, soft-spoken people. And here you will find Peru. All right. Peru was colonized by the Spaniards. And Peru is very service-oriented. You will find, again, people here are very happy to belong. They are happy to belong to an organization, hardworking. You will find that people from Peru will not say no to working extra hours or taking that extra step. All right, and finally, here we have Uruguay. All right, Uruguay, the capital being Montevideo. You will find excellent engineers here. And just to give you a feel of Uruguay, right? You have a nice, soft-spoken community, very influenced by Europe. You will find a large community of Ukrainian citizens living in Uruguay. That's a fun fact for you to know. So you will find a nice community of people from Ukraine living in Montevideo. Yeah, let's move on. So how do we imagine the LATAM employee after, seeing all of this? Okay. All right. Yes, the LATAM employee is a happy employee, emotional, ready to work. So we have to, build those capacities to understand the LATAM employee. Anyway, I want to jump in just to finish a few recommendations for your initial interviews with people from Latin America. Make sure to review resumes in detail before interviews. Make sure that you mention points that you were impressed with by reading these documents. For LATAM, first impressions are really important. So the way you portray yourself to LATAM when you turn on your computer, when you log into this meet, will tell you, how your process will go. So again, in first impression, very important. You must be warm. You must be welcoming. Okay. Always remember, greetings are important. Engage, have initiatives, interact. Don't close an interview by just saying goodbye, thank you. Okay. Remember, find details within the interview that will change the mood. Maybe prepare before the interview. Check out what's the weather like in I don't know, Santa Catarina, Brazil today, where my candidate is from. Break the ice. Bring in some things that might make this interview better and stronger. What else? Be prepared to negotiate salary from the start. LATAM is very direct with this. They will immediately tell you, okay, first thing I want to know is, what is the salary range? They want to know salaries. So you have to be ready to negotiate. Here's where your sales tactics are going to come into play. So if you're a good recruiter, you're going to go from low to high. And that works with LATAM. Okay, so they're testing you. They're testing the waters. They want to know numbers right away from the beginning. Also, always demonstrate gratitude for, when you end the conversation. It was a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed listening about your experiences. And assure them that you will contact them within the next steps of the process. Even if this candidate was terrible on interview and you will not be continuing in the process, you have to let them know. Don't keep them waiting. They will contact you continuously until you give them an answer. It doesn't look professional. We want to brand the company. In LATAM, you want to brand your company. So you want to make sure that you leave this interview in a professional manner and you end the process in a professional manner. Remember, we LATAM are highly communicative and everything goes by word of mouth. We will let our partners know that receive your invitations. Hey, in that company, you don't get feedback. It's a joke. They will say these things. Be prepared to have comments on LinkedIn about your recruitment process. They will post if they did not like something about your interviews. So you have to be, very well prepared before jumping into your initial interview. Practice makes perfect. So considering the pyramid, considering the steps for your organization, being well prepared, having all of these details in your head now, you are ready to start recruiting. So the more you interview, the more you source, the more practice you get, the better you'll get at this and the more connection to the LATAM culture you will have. So what are the next steps? Are you ready to take them? Target the country, learn about the country, dip your feet and take a baby step. All right. So I think our time is coming to an end. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Yes, Mary, we have it, and a lot. I put the questions in chat. I see that we have a lot of questions about taxation. What taxes will self-employed people have, and also what is the best preferred model to be like self-employed or to work on employment contract? Can you comment on that, please?
Okay. So so in Latin America, this varies by country. The tax that self-employed independent service contractors will pay, it really varies. It varies by the amount of money that they are that they are claiming to the government, that they are saying that they've made to the government. It really depends. It depends if the salary is going to be, a set salary, or if this salary is going to be varied. There are different percentages, but to this, we have to really, this would take a few hours to go and sink into this and be able to specify the exact tax amounts and discounts, or what employees have to pay in terms of tax.
Tell the range that usually is like common for the market.
Yeah. So, for example, just to mention here in Peru, depending on the amount of money you make, independent service contractors usually pay within 6 to 16% tax. In Brazil, it's also the same. So it really depends on each and every country.
Okay, thank you. And also we have a question about the popular job boards in Latin America. Maybe you can name the most popular one for some countries, or that is common for all Latin America.
Yeah, so in terms, again, I shouldn't even be saying that LinkedIn is the, I don't want to give free advertisement or tell you this is what works and this doesn't work. But generally speaking, we see that in Europe, there are a lot of job boards dedicated strictly to software development, for example. In Latin America, we don't really see that. It's more broad. You will see job boards that are very general. So they have a lot of everything. In terms of software, developers, engineers, and IT professionals, typically, they look for their jobs on LinkedIn again. But we do have job boards like CompuTrabajo. Indeed also works in Latin America. We have Boomerang. We have numerous job boards. But another thing to keep in mind is that to post on these job boards, you must have a tax ID. You must have a legal entity also. So it's there's things that you have to really consider. But definitely what LATAM is mostly using right now to search for jobs, to investigate companies, it's what everyone is using. It's LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you. And also we have the question about the best communication channel, about the source. So you already replied to this because the question actually is what is the best resource for communication? Is LinkedIn or email or some other? Maybe you can comment on which can be used except LinkedIn. Which communication channel is more popular?
More popular amongst high-level professionals. And again, if we're talking about the IT industry, we're going to reach out on LinkedIn. Other forms of communication, again, the Latin America employee, if we like just jump into their heads, everything is highly communicative to them. So, when you have your initial reach out on LinkedIn, you can see on their resumes, they immediately, you can see their WhatsApp. What we use WhatsApp a lot, and we have a lot of communities for recruitment also on WhatsApp. We have a lot of WhatsApp groups. That's really common in Latin America. So it's another way that we, keep in communication. But again, if I want to mention one specific place where you will be able to source and find a great community of engineers in Latin America, that would be LinkedIn. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe you can comment on which type of employment candidates would prefer, B2B contractors or legal employment? What is more popular?
Oh yeah, that's a hot topic, and that's it's, I don't want to say it's a problem, but that's something that we all have to really think about. In Latin America, obviously, people that are working in legal entities and are under the governmental compliance, they have the majority of countries have a lot of benefits, right? You have besides your vacation and your paid holidays, you also have your Christmas bonus, and you also have your bonus during the middle of the year. And it's typically, one complete salary in addition to your salary in the middle of the year. And then for Christmas, you get an additional salary. You have food cards where, companies give you an amount of money so you can purchase food in the supermarket for your family, your kids. You have sports benefits and so many other things. So it is, it's really something to consider. Right now, we can see that a lot of people, I'm talking about Brazil now, they're very keen on jumping into business to business. And I'll tell you why. They want to make the US dollars because the real is, the currency in Brazil doesn't purchase much. The dollar value, goes up and down. So they prefer to make US dollars to cover all their needs. So business to business is the way to go right now in Brazil. There are other countries like Chile. They don't like business to business. They want to be hired, because they have a lot of benefits and because they look at long-term employment. Chile is one of the countries with more stability. So you really, really have to investigate the country, check what their governmental policies are, in terms of employment. And then you'll realize, if the offer your organization is handing out to you to provide to a candidate is going to be worth it. But this is going to take research. And again, it varies. It varies by country.
Okay, thank you a lot. I guess we are over the time, and it's really hard to cover all questions during the 1 hour webinar about Latin American recruitment because it's a huge topic. Thank you, Madeleine, for covering for this presentation and for deeping us into the culture aspects. I see some questions that you put in the chat, and some questions you repeat. You also, guests can ask Madeleine in LinkedIn, contact Madeleine on LinkedIn and ask the questions directly if you'd like, and if you have those questions. So I will pass the word to the team from HURMA system, and I'd like to say a huge thank you to Madeleine. It was really nice and interesting to hear about the culture and all that related questions that covered not only recruitment but HR aspects also. And please do not forget to donate, to make donations to our Ukrainian army. Okay, thank you. And let's listen the part about HURMA system from the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Stepan Deshvik is here. So just a second, I'll share my screen. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have permission for sharing. Inna, could you please grant it to me?
Just a second.
Now I do have it. Just a second. Now you should see my screen and my presentation. Is it visible? Okay, so let's go. Once again, Stepan Deshvik is here. I am a Chief Product Officer of HURMA Systems, and we provide an all-in-one solution which help companies grow faster. If you have any questions, suggestion, or you want to send to give your love to my dog, just drop me an email. You have it here. So I'll be glad to receive any feedback. So you're welcome. We'll be glad to hear from you. And my presentation will be really brief. I won't take up more than 15 minutes, and I'll try to be short but very practical. So when we are talking about recruitment process, we should consider that a good process must, I emphasize, the good process must include the feedback loop, and we should regularly check how it performs. Otherwise, we'll be less than mediocre. So this loop is described in several ways, and I prefer this one where we have 3 steps only. First, we plan, then we execute, and then we learn what we got from execution. And we start over again, we change our plan, and we execute again. So how does it look in our system? Let me show you a bit. First of all, when you're planning, please rely on active work, because there are plenty of ways of collection candidates for your job openings, but the inbound flow of application is kind of small. Only 5% of candidates come to your job advertisement. 95% of candidates you mine on your own. You find them candidates on job portals, on LinkedIn, on Indeed, and some other job portals. So please plan that you will be working hard, and we will be working a lot to find the right candidate for you. Also, there was a question about channels to reach the candidates, and we see that emails do not work at all. The response rate is really close to 0. And if you are not Google, if you are not Netflix, then it's really will be a luck that you receive a response from email. Someone tried to phone, someone tried to call our candidates, and we see that this channel is not so good as well. And the reason for that in Latin America, candidates are overwhelmed by the amount of calls which are directed to them. So they just do not like to answer the calls. And the best working way is we see, according to our data is that WhatsApp works best. And there are a few reasons for this. First, WhatsApp just decouples communication. Your candidate has plenty of time to decide if you want to respond or not. And the second point is that the delayed response is just convenient for the candidate. So use WhatsApp, it really works good. And on average, 1 out of 5 communication attempts via WhatsApp would work well. So it's a pretty good percentage. And the last point, you should always check the statistics. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, you will be underperforming. So if you don't mind, I'll show you our product, and I'll demonstrate you how to work with the candidates in our system. And if you have any questions, I would be eager to answer this. So just a second, I'm switching my screens. Can you see my system right now? That's good. That's good. Okay, so we start work with our job openings. First thing you want to do is to create this job opening. So we click new job, and we just fulfill all the fields we provide here. Not all of them, but essential. So I would always recommend to fulfill city, country, and if it's possible that work is remote, I would also recommend fulfilling requirements and responsibilities. This is the essential part of the job opening, which should be exposed to your candidate. So you also can make this job opening public. What does it mean that job opening public? It means that it is accessible via career page. Let me show you how it looks. For example, it looks like this. Here we see that we have a domain. It's your domain, actually. For example, company.hurma.work. And here we have the description, the link to our vacancy, our job opening. So our candidate can navigate to this page and just send his application. It looks like this. Here he can state his name, he can upload a CV, drop some cover letter, and send his application to your company. But please remember that passive ways of collection applications do provide some candidates, but not very much. Still, it works, and you can distribute these links throughout your social media. Maybe you would like to use it in emails. You also can use this as a link to collect your application from the job openings and job portals. But as I mentioned before, the most effective and the most efficient way of collecting applications is using is a direct navigation to job portals and collecting them directly via plugin. So plugin is installed into your browser, like Google Chrome. And with this plugin, you can actually quickly scan the data of the candidate you like. So here we see Alexander Chernobyl. I like this guy for many reasons. But the most good thing about this candidate that he keeps his phone number open, and it actually opens a way to communicate with this guy. Let me show how it's performed. So first of all, what we do, we scan this profile. The next thing we need to do is to decide where do we put our candidate. For example, I think that this is a good candidate for the UI UX designer position. Now I decide that we have already had a communication on LinkedIn, so I just define the stage of the job opening and send him here. After scanning, I can see this candidate in my system. So here is the job opening. Here are the candidates. So, and we can see that Alexander Chernobyl is in my system. I actually have just captured his CV and added to my funnel. And here I can communicate directly via WhatsApp. So he has left his phone number, and it's really easy to reach him out via WhatsApp. I just click this link and I allow the communication with my candidate. You also might have noticed that there is a sort of funnel on the job opening. So here it is. I would recommend creation of this funnel beforehand. But should you need to correct your funnel during the hiring process, during the recruitment process, you can just click edit and add or remove some stages. For example, we need a new stage like interview with the CEO. Here it is. We have just added this position, this stage, and we saved our job opening. Now we see that Alexander Chernobyl is successful. I mean, just move him to the next stage, like interview with the CEO. Having this in hand, we can collect statistics online. So here we see that we have a number of stages and we have a number of candidates here. And this statistics is calculated in real time, and you have relative conversions and absolute conversions. So for example, you can discover that after the test tasks, you drop off lots of candidates. And this is the decision point for you. You have to think over, maybe your task is too difficult for candidates and you should lower your expectations. Once again, statistics provides you with some grounds to make really effective decisions. And the last thing I would like to show you is our recruiting statistics model, which contains a couple of reports, but I would focus on channel efficiency. So what we see here, here we see the split of our candidates distributed by the channels, and we see who does actually accept offers. You can see here that more than a half of our candidates come from LinkedIn, but it's Genie.co, which works at the source of good candidates. So once again, seeing this data, having it in hand provides you with solid grounds to make and effective decisions about investments into your recruitment channels. So here it is, a very brief overview of our system. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer it.
So I don't see any questions in chat. I guess everything was pretty clear. So I guess we can finish the webinar right now.
Okay, once again, thank you everyone for coming and seeing this brief demonstration.
Yeah, thank you a lot. So everyone have a great evening or maybe day, because maybe you came here from the Latin America. Okay, so bye-bye and thank you for joining.